good start to a really exciting plenary for lunch. Hi everybody, my name is Angelique Power. I am the president of the Field Foundation in Chicago. I am the proud chair of the GIA board for a short period longer. And as I prepare to step down from my chairwomanship role, I wanted to take a brief moment and first to say thank you to each of you, the GIA community, and especially to my vice chair, Carrie McCarthy. Carrie, where are you? And to all of my fellow board members. Boards are extravagant beasts, aren't they? The alignment of heart and soul, superego and id is often elusive. And yet, somehow the GIA board is a space for both compassion and provocation, and has given me so much as the chair. Our board members are selected by each of you, the GIA community. Thank you for your votes, and as we say in Chicago, vote early and vote often. I'm excited to announce our latest approved slate. Please stand as I say your name if you are here. Joining the board for their second term are Anita Contini, Arts Program Lead, Bloomberg Philanthropies; Susan Fader, Program Officer, Arts and Cultural Heritage, Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. Yay. Tatiana Hernandez, Senior Program Officer, the Kresge Foundation. Arlita Little, Program Officer, McKnight Foundation. And Ted Russell, Associate Director of Art Strategy and Ventures, Kenneth Rainin Foundation. Joining the GIA board for their first term are Elizabeth Mendez-Berry, Director, Voice, Creativity and Culture, Nathan Cummings Foundation. Tariana Navas-Nieves, Director, Cultural Affairs, Denver, Arts and Venues. Eleanor Savage, Program Director, Arts, Jerome Foundation. And Gabrielle Strong, Program Officer, Native Arts and Cultures, Margaret A. Cargill Foundation. At this time, I'd like to ask the rest of the GIA board to stand so we could give you all a round of applause for your dedication and hard work. Thank you. And truth be told, and I was saying this to someone last night, the GIA board is fantastic today, but it has been fantastic throughout its history. And I think of the GIA board as these waves that are these big waves that come in. They're different folks that are waves in our community. They hit the shore and then they return back to the ocean, the larger GIA community. And there are so many people who have served on the GIA board before I ever became a board member that I am a fangirl of. And continue to push the GIA community today. If you have ever served on the GIA board, will you please stand so we can give you a round of applause. There are critical crossroads that must be traversed during the course of any organization's life. At these moments, organizations need to look at themselves in the mirror and decide who they are going to be. During my time as GIA board chair, we've had not one but two of those critical moments. One was when just 1 year ago, we searched for and found the incredible Eddie Torres to take the reins at GIA. In the past year, Eddie has led our organization through some deep soul searching, asked us to define who we are as the GIA community, what we mean by the words that we use, and asked us to double down on our commitment to every community across the nation, rural, urban, and in between. Eddie asked us to confirm if we are about equity, if we're willing to join conversations in progress across the country about justice and fairness. Eddie asked us if we really mean racial equity, and if so, should GIA put some miles under its belt and head out to small towns and big cities and bring racial equity to its members? And while delivering workshops that are rooted in racial equity, can we square ourselves also in intersectionality? Can we comprehend that we need to demand space for LGBTQI and trans, thank you, Sean, for differently abled and socioeconomically oppressed peoples? Eddie wanted to know if we were about policy. Yes, education, arts education policy, but are we about all policies that threaten our ability to thrive in our neighborhoods? He asked us if we are for real about our commitment to artists, all art forms, those who don't even call themselves artists, but creative entrepreneurs. Yes, we said to him. Yes, you said to him. Yes, yes, hell yes. And then, boom, the second critical crossroad moment happened just as I was rounding third base as my chairmanship role. We learned there was a strike at the Oakland Marriott. At first we thought sending a note telling people to be aware of the strike and to opt out of coming to the conference if they were uncomfortable crossing the picket line would be enough. But because of Eddie's work this past year, we were able to see that no, this is not enough. We thought of the people who served us our meals at past GIA conferences. We thought of the people who cleaned our rooms at past GIA conferences. We thought of the workers that are often low income, folks of color, immigrants, women. These are the very real people who are the strikers here in Oakland and across the nation, at hotels, trying to leverage their voice to gain more power and agency and resources. And so, these last few weeks, as you've heard about throughout the conference, in real time, in 2 weeks, a massive replanning effort has been underway, led by the thoughtful and determined president and GIA staff. Can we give them a round of applause? And I want to pause and say that not only did the GIA staff do this massive replanning in real time, but we also need to acknowledge how the Oakland artist community rose to meet the challenge as well. GIA stood at the second critical crossroad, and we asked ourselves, are we about convenience or are we about justice? Choosing justice means financial ramifications, uncomfortability, board work, sacrifice. That was supposed to be hard work, not board work. Hard work, maybe some board work. But are we about convenience or are we about justice? When you go back to your foundations, there will be a million decisions you will make that will be this choice. Because the default operating system in philanthropy is about convenience to the funder and not about justice for all. But I would like you to ask yourself, when you get home with these decisions, are we about convenience to ourselves or are we about justice for others? I guarantee you, if you choose justice, like the Oakland arts community rose to meet GIA, the universe of artists and organizers and neighbors will rise to meet you. It has been my absolute honor to be the chair of the GIA board, and please join me in welcoming our heroic justice warrior, Eddie Torres.
Thank you so much. You know, the fact of the matter is that you deserve, obviously, just as much credit as we do as regards, you know, being flexible for this conference, because the conference is for you, you know? And you have all been so unbelievably gracious and so unbelievably supportive. But most important, some of you have used the restroom here. And so, when this is all over, give yourselves a round of applause. I want to actually start by thanking our volunteers. You know, they're not here because they're working. But they are all wearing on their name tag a blue ribbon, and they are just volunteers. They're doing this for free because they believe in this, you know? And if we agree with what John Powell said, that culture is what gives us our humanity, then supporting culture is the most important thing that you can be doing. And so ultimately, a belief in that is what brings you here, and a belief in that is actually what brings our volunteers here. So they are Laura Kales, Cheryl Ann Colton, Brooke Dilling, LaRushela Murphy, Sarah Safari, and Candace Eros Diaz. Thank you. Now, you know, I'm supposed to do the state of the organization. In a word, the state of the organization is strong. And that's thanks to you. I mean, we've been working with the Grantmakers in the arts communities for years around issues of thoughtful capitalization, thorough capitalization, and we are a case study of what happens when funders support their organizations thoughtfully. We have an operating reserve, we have cash surpluses most year. We'll see what the end of this year looks like. But ultimately, here's the thing. The fact that we have those operating reserves, thanks to you, is the reason we were able to say, no, we won't do the conference at a hotel where people are striking just to have a living wage. We're going to go ahead and pivot, and we recognize there might be unanticipated costs for this. We recognize that this will be inconvenient, etc. We had that luxury, and it is a luxury, and we had that luxury thanks to you. So thank you. Now, I've had the privilege of talking with you over the past year, and ultimately, I've been working with you to articulate what the vision for Grantmakers on the Arts is, both as an organization and as a community of practice. So I basically would like to share with you the vision for the future that we are articulating and that we would like to join you in executing upon. So in the future, Grantmakers in the Arts as a community increasingly become investors in culture, increasing the means of support that we lend and also increasing the recipients of that support, making sure that we're supporting not just nonprofit organizations, but also artists, but also the small business community, unincorporated entities, informal groups. We want to make sure, obviously, that increased support goes to arts and culture, but we also want to make sure that that's for a variety of reasons, not just that foundations have increased their arts and culture portfolios, but that foundations and also public agencies have integrated arts and culture as an element of their giving in all regards. We also want to make sure that support for advocacy and public policy and practice increases. This is also something that is a matter of living one's values, but also a matter of simply being able to act with courage. You know, my predecessor, Janet Brown, used to say, philanthropy is a field that's born out of love and administered out of fear. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of these changes really come down to our embracing an ethos of courage and an ethos of boldness and also an ethos of love. we also want to make sure that while we have a great cross-section of program officers and program managers here, that we also make sure we have foundation presidents and trustees. And I've been so gratified to meet so many of you here over the course of this conference. Also heads of public agencies, and they needn't be leaders who are exclusive to arts and culture. I mean, the more that we can get a great cross-section of our field together to have these kind of conversations, the richer they are. And finally, we want to make sure that anti-racist practices are embedded in all of our work, not just a project, a program, but to make sure every decision we make, we are able to make through the lens of anti-racism. Now, we know that a vision is something that needs to constantly be growing and evolving. You know, ideally our work is planned, but it's also responsive and it's also emergent. And so that's why we want to make sure we always have our ears open when we're dealing with you, but also that we're approaching all of our work in a spirit of humility. I've always said, you know, that I am not an expert in any regard. I am a lifelong learner, right? A lifelong learner is somebody who finds out they're wrong a lot. And that's fine. You know, once you come to recognize, okay, I'll be smarter tomorrow because I was an idiot today. And I embrace that ethos. Now, I believe in a future in which things get better and better because we've made it better and better, because that's what heroes do. Heroes make their future. And I believe in heroes. That's why I came to Grantmakers in the Arts, because I believe in you. So I'm looking forward to working with you on all of this. Now, when we moved the organization from Seattle to New York, we were lucky enough to keep a couple of the staff members from Seattle, and we were also lucky enough to bring new people onto the staff. And I just want to take a moment to introduce them and to thank them. So when I call out your name, if you would join me on stage. Operations and Finance Advisor, Jan Bailey. Web and Knowledge Manager, Steve Klein. Membership Manager, Jessica Corporan. Communications and Publications Manager, Carmen Graciela Diaz. Development Manager, Sylvia Jung. Director of Operations and Finance, Champ Connect. Program Manager, Sherilyn Seeley. And a special thank you to Deputy Director and Director of Programs, Nadia Elokta. I know I speak for all of us when I see you, I honor you, I thank you. And now please join me in welcoming, from the Kenneth Rainin Foundation, Shelley Trott.